Okay, we are on the chapter 2, section 2.1, your page 13. We are going to learn some numbers. For section 2.1, we are going to do some signed number, arithmetic, and order of operations. You're supposed to know this, okay? However, just in case you forgot, then we are going to do some review. You need to know how to handle the signed numbers for add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and follow the order of operations. Okay, let's talk about signed numbers first. So if we draw a line, what do we call it? A number line, right? To put a number in there. And something in the middle. What do you think you will put in the middle? 0. Okay? Then we go to the right-hand side. You will do 1, 2, 3 as such. What do you think? You go to the left-hand side. That would be the opposite. Opposite of positive would be what? Negative. Right? So you would do negative number on the left-hand side of 0. Positive on the right-hand side. So which side is getting bigger? Which side is getting smaller? So when you go to the right-hand side, it gets bigger. Left-hand side gets smaller. So on the right-hand side, you will have what? Positive numbers. On the left-hand side, you will have what? Negative numbers, right? What do you think of the 0? Does it have positive and negative? No. So for 0, it's a special, right? So it's unassigned. No signs for it. Then for positive and negative, we'll call them what? Signed number. So that's what we are going to do the arithmetic on those numbers. What does that mean for this? It means what? Add, subtract, and multiply, and divide. How to handle the positive and negative numbers to do things, right? So we are going to do add and subtract, and we do, multiply and divide. So let's do add and subtract first. Remember what to do? So, what do you think? 7 plus 5 is 12, right? Of course. What happened to the negative, right? Some of you will have problems with negative numbers, okay? Negative 5 and negative 7 and negative 5. So, you can think several ways. So that's 0, 7, you are here. Positive 7 on the right-hand side. So plus 5, you plus 5, add more, right? So you would be here. So that would be 12. If you are at negative 7, that will be on the left-hand side. Then minus 5 plus a negative 5 means you go left 5 more steps. So you plus negative 5, you end up what? Negative 12, right? Or you can think, if you won $7, $5, total $12. If you lost 7, lost 5, total you lost 12, right? What happened to 7 plus negative 5? Or negative 7 plus positive 5, right? So you can look at it this way. 0 here, 7 here. So plus negative 5. So for negative, you should go left or go right. You go to the left, 5 places, right? So you go this way, minus 5. So you end up what? At 2. Is that right? And if you are here, negative 7 plus 5, 0. Negative 7 is here. Plus 5, you go right or go left. Then you go right 5 steps. right? 5 more steps. This way, 5 steps. You end up what? On the left-hand side would be -2. So if you have a problem to remember those, what do you think? If you like to dance, then you say, okay, positive, I do right steps. Negative, I do left step. So you end up, you start from 0, you do right step, 7 steps, then you go left 5 steps, right? Then I used to have a bunch of soccer players. They just don't remember those positive and negative numbers. So how do we do? You just kick your balls, right? 7, you kick to the right to your friend. Then if he kick left 5 steps, negative, then you end up still on your right. That's how you think about it, okay? On the right side of the field or left side of the field, that way, with positive and negative. So, if you still have problems to remember it, then what do we do? Okay, so you can think about this way. If you have same sign, either positive or negative, so the method you use is what? If it's the same sign, what do? You add and keep it, the sign. If it's a positive, end up still on the right-hand side. If negative and negative, you go left, you end up, it's what? Left-hand side. If it's same sign, you keep it. So like this one, -12, you keep the sign, right? If they have different signs, you cannot combine 7 and 5, right? Because one is positive and one is the negative. Because they are different, then you have to what? You don't combine them, you don't add them, you find the difference. Okay? And like 7, positive 7, negative 5. Positive is bigger, right? So your ball still on the right-hand side. Or if you dance right side more than left-hand side, you end up at the right-hand side, right? So you give for different sign, 7 and 5, the difference is 2. So you will find the difference, then you will use what? The sign of the bigger number. Is that right? If -7 plus 5, so -7, you go to left more than you go to the right, you end up on the left. But you find the difference, 7 and 5, it's 2. But you keep only what? Left-hand side if negative is bigger. Okay, so different signs, find the difference and use the sign of the bigger number. If you can comprehend directly, you are fine. But for some of you, you will have trouble with the positive and negative. So, what do we say? Same sign, you add and keep, right? Different signs, then you subtract them. Subtract those numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number, then you will be fine, right? Okay, it seems very straightforward, but when you handle the fractions and decimals, you might get confused. But you practice, you'll be fine. Okay? So look at that. If I have a -23 plus -16, so what do you think? Do they have the same sign? Yes. Then you put them together, right? You put them together, 23, so it's 39. But keep the sign, so it will be -39, right? if of a plus negative 10, what do you think? Do they have same sign or different signs? Different signs. Okay, then you have to find the difference between 8 and 10. Then, difference between 8 and 10 is 2. But which sign you should use? The big number, negative 2. So that will be your answer. So remember, how do numbers work? Each number, the sign goes with the number behind it. The sign belongs to the number behind it. So plus this whole thing, the negative belongs to what? 16. Okay? Then we are talking about what? Addition, right? That's for addition. Then how about subtraction? For subtraction, if 23 minus 73. So how would you do? We just said the sign goes with the number behind it. So 23 is 23. 73 actually is a negative, right? So 23 minus 73 is the same thing as you want to combine these two numbers. One is positive, one is negative. You can think this way. If you think this way, you'll be okay. Since you know how to add, then you should be able to do subtraction, right? Because you treat each individual number with sign going with it, all right? So positive, this is negative. Then positive and negative, you add together, what do you think? Different signs, find the difference between 23 and 73, that's what? 50. Then which sign you should use? Use the sign of the bigger number, which is negative. That's how you do subtraction. It's more straightforward to think this way instead of left and right. All right? So you treat each individual number, okay, with its sign, then you deal with it by adding them. Follow the rule. Okay? So if you have two numbers, 382 minus negative 3. So when you have minus something, but you have another negative. So what do? You do, if you have a negative, you do change. Okay? So then it becomes what? 382, change become what? Plus 93. Then you should be able to add, right? So the number is what? 475. That's how you should do to handle your positive and negative number. It's much easier this way, so you will have less chance to make mistakes. Okay? Just remember the same sign you add and keep. Okay? Different signs, you find the difference and use the sign of the bigger number. If so, that will take you there with less mistakes. Right? Okay? If you forgot or you lost it, go back to here and check again. Now we do multiplication and division. We just did addition and subtraction, right? Multiplication and division, that's all you need to do is take care of the sign. Positive times positive is positive. Negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. Negative times positive is what? Negative. That means if it's the same sign multiplied together, it becomes positive. It's different from adding and subtracting. Adding, same sign, if both negative, you add it together, still negative. Okay? Keep the sign. But multiplication, if you have same sign, U becomes positive. If different sign, then it's negative. Then we say, if positive thing happen to a positive person, for a good person, it's positive. If bad things happen to the bad person, it's a good thing. Or whatever, right? Positive, if good thing happens to a bad person, right? It's a bad thing. If bad thing happen to the good person, it's a bad thing. It's just for your reference. So what you have to remember is same sign multiplied together is positive. Different signs multiplied together is a negative. It's a different rules from your adding and subtracting. Okay, so that's multiplication. For division, you follow the same rule. Positive divided by positive is positive. Same sign divided together become what? Positive. If different signs divided, then it becomes what? Negative, like this. That's the rule you need to follow. Okay? Let's see some examples on your page, next page, page 14. First one, -2, -1, 3, -4, and 1. So you will take care of the signs first. Negative, negative, negative. What do you think? Right? So if negative times negative, let's take a look the just a simple one first. Let's do this way. So if -1, it's a -1, right? -1 times twice becomes what? Negative times negative is +1. If times 3 times, so negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is what? Negative. If 4 times, negative times negative is positive, then positive times negative is negative. Negative times negative is what? Positive. Turns out it's +1. So you can see if odd numbers of negative, it becomes what? Negative. If even numbers of the negative, it ends up positive. Remember this? Okay, so when you multiply things, you will take care of the signs first. It will be easier. Negative, negative, -3. Odd numbers. Odd numbers of negative, it's negative. Then you multiply your number. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 3, 6, 6 times 4, 24. That's how you will handle it. So you would take care of the sign first. Okay, for the second one, how many negative we have? 4 of them, even number. Even number of negatives, so you should get positive, so positive. Then you times the number is 24, that will be +24. Is that right? So for a bunch of negative signs, when you do multiplication and divisions, you take care of the signs by itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them, odd number of negative, you multiply, you should get a negative. Then you multiply the number, it's the same thing. Then you just add the sign to it, so it's more reliable that way. You can do this way, or you can do it individually. That will take you forever. Okay, so how many negative signs we have? 3. 3 is up, so the answer should be negative. Then you do the division. 64 divided by 8, 8 divided by 4, 2. 2 divided by 2 is what? 1, right? So if you have this one, negative 8, negative 4 divided by 2, how many negative numbers you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Even number, you should get a positive. Then divide it, positive 1. Right? Can you remember this? Okay, don't make mistakes on this. You should be able to handle it. So, another thing you have to differentiate is this. We talk about powers, right? What does power mean? It means multiply itself by itself twice, right? So first one, 2 is the power. They both are the same. However, what's the difference between these two? This one with parentheses, right? That means base is what? Negative 5. What happened to the second one? You have power, but you have negative 5 here. The power attached to the number right in front of it. Here, the power 2 attached to the whole thing with parentheses is a group, which is what? Negative number. The whole base is negative 5. But for this square, the base is only 5. Then the negative, the sign attached to the number behind it. So let's see the result. First one means what? The whole base multiply itself twice. So you have negative is what? 25. Right? And if for the second one, 5 square only apply to 5, so you need to times 5 and 5. Then you attach the sign with it. 5 times 5 is what? 25. Then you attach the number with it. So it's a different answer. You need to be careful with this. Right? They are different. One is a negative 5, negative attached to 5 as a whole base, multiply itself twice. Then this one is you do the exponent first, right? Then you attach to the number sign with it. We couldn't emphasize enough. You need to remember it. Okay, understand how we operate the numbers. And what does sign mean? And how to apply it to the number. For next one is negative 2. What do you think? And for this one, what do you think? Right? Negative 2 squared times twice, it's a positive. And this one, 2 squared is 4. You attach the sign for it. That will end up that way. Becomes positive. Okay? We are doing the multiplication, then we do the division. Okay, we will review some more later, but this is the basic idea you need to do. Okay, so for this one, how many negatives we have? 4. It's even number. The answer should be positive. So then, what do we have? We just multiply numbers 6 times 10, 60, 4 times 5, 20. Then for fractions, you need to simplify. It divided by 10 would be what? Divided by 10. Okay, that would be 6/2. Then you divide it by 2, you end up with 3/1. But if you give me 3/1, I will deduct you some points. Why? Not simple enough. you always show your answer with the simplest form, then which is 3. You need to show 3 divided by 1 is 3. You need to show the simplest number. Okay? Now let's talk about order of operations. You have to follow certain rules. Okay? Then before we have in high school, we talk about the method is what? Pandas. Remember this? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? But that's not good enough, and for a reason, okay? How about I say, please excuse dear my Sally Ann, right? Why am I doing this? Let's do some observation. Okay, if we have numbers like this, 10 minus 5 plus 2. Okay, if you do addition first, it becomes 7, then 10 minus 7 becomes 3. If another person does it, it's 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 2, 5 plus 2 is what? 7. You end up have 2 different answers. We don't do that. Okay? For math, we all get the same answers. So for addition and subtraction, which way we would do? We don't do this way. We don't always do addition before subtraction. Like this, we do subtraction before addition. Why? We have to do the same way, okay? So for subtraction and addition, we have to do it from what? Left to right. We have to do it from left to right. Okay, that's why we don't use pandas. Because multiplication and division is the same category. Addition and subtraction is the same category. So we need to do what? From left to right. Then parentheses is what? You do it first, then you do exponents, then you do multiplication and division. Same group, you have to do it from left to right. So we don't really use pandas anymore. Okay? So for division and multiplication, if we have 10 divided by 5 times 2. Okay, if one person do 10 divided by 5 first, so you do, if someone do multiplication first, that become 10, then 10 divided by 10 become 1. If another person does it, 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 2 is what? 4. We will have different answers. We don't do that. Okay? So we have to decide which way. We don't do multiplication first. If you have a multiplication and division, you do it from left to right. That's very important. That's called what? The order we need to follow so we can all get the same answer. We always do parentheses and exponent first. Okay? So, what is parentheses? Parentheses means a grouping. Okay? Grouping can be parentheses. Sometimes we use bracket. Sometimes we use curly bracket. Okay? Means parentheses. Then, later on, if you learn absolute value. Okay? Or you have fractions. Then top of fraction, this fraction line is a group symbol. Top is one group, bottom is one group. So you have to handle separately before you do the division. then you know exponents, right? Then you do multiplication and division, then you do subtraction and addition at the end. Okay, so you have parentheses with one type, exponent is one type, and multiplication and division, they are same group. So you do from left to right. Addition and subtraction is the same group. You do it from left to right. Because subtraction and addition is the simplest one. So you do the complicated one first, the group. Okay? Take care of the complicated one. Then you simplify the problem and get it simpler and simpler. Then you do it addition and subtraction at the last. Got it? Okay, that's another place you might have math arrows like this. Okay? So, let's see. Next one, how do we actually do it? Okay, with signs. And so, for the first one, you do need to practice. In here, we have 4 numbers, different sign, minus, plus, and multiplication. So, how should we do it? You have multiplication and addition, subtraction. So, multiplication and division, you have to do it before the addition and subtraction. You do the addition and subtraction the last. Okay, so this is your addition and subtraction. You do it last. Then you need to do multiplication before those. If you have issues, you might use highlighters to highlight those. So you know you do that last. Then 3 times 8, you do it first, right? Multiplication, 24. Then you do 7, 5, minus 5 plus 24. So you have minus and plus. Do you do the addition first? Don't do that. See? We say you have to do it left to right. Okay? So you don't do addition first. You do from left to right. So you do this way. So 7 minus 5 is what? 2. Then 2 plus 24, you should get 26. Right? Okay, you have a bunch of things with parentheses. So if you highlight your plus minus, that's you do the last, right? Then you have a parenthesis. We have to do parentheses first, the grouping. We have to take care of this. Then within this group, you have a multiplication and power. Multiplication and power. You have to do power before multiplication. You don't do 2 times 3 first. No, don't do that. Okay? You need to do the power first. Power exponent before multiplication and division. So 3 squared is what? 9. Then 2 times 9 is what? 18. Right? So you better rewrite it. Don't mingle too many things at one time. It's better for you to rewrite. Right? Now you can see you have what? Addition and subtraction. And between you have division. That's a different group, right? It's a different thing. You have to do multiplication, division, do the addition and subtraction the last. So you do this, that would be 2. Then what do you have? You have 20 minus 2 plus 18, right? Becomes simplest form with addition and subtraction. And addition and subtraction, you wanted to do my dear Aunt Sally or dear my Sally Ann, right? You need to do left to right. So you do this first. 20 minus 2 is what? 18, is that right? Then 18 plus 18 is what? 36. That's what you need to do. Can you remember this? You need to, regardless, right? Okay. Now, let's look at the next one. 3, 2.1, 6 minus 2. Okay, things like this. So what do we have? The power portion, that's base. Then you have to simplify each component first. Okay, so power itself, you need to simplify. So that would be what? 2.1 to the 4th power. Then you use calculator to do it. You will have 19.4481. Okay, if you do it one shot like this on the calculator, what will happen? This one is the power, and minus 2. If you type in this to the computer or calculator, it will do the power first before you minus 2, right? Power before subtraction. But we do need to take care of the power because power actually is 4. It's not 6 power. So if you enter the calculator in one shot, you need to put the parentheses around. So the calculator will understand what you want. You want to do the power, simplify the power first. Then you will get the same answer. Otherwise, if you do 2.16 minus 2, you will get a different answer, which is not what we want. Okay? And for your test, it's more like this. Okay, so we say grouping can be parentheses, can be bracket or curly bracket. Okay, when you have this situation, you have bracket and parentheses, right? Situation like this, what do we need to do? So you have a bunch of things. You do from inside to outside. So you can simplify it this way, from inside to outside. Inside group first and outside later, right? Then what does parenthesis mean? So we have this, 3 parentheses 5. It means what? Two numbers with separated by a group, it means multiplication, right? 3, 5 means what? Multiplication. And sometimes I use the computer symbol with this, means multiplication, right? Or you can use 2 parentheses, still multiplication. And sometimes we use dot, means multiplication, right? If I write a 3, 5, it means what? 35. If you have a symbol, parentheses in between, it means multiplication. Like 2 and this means multiplication. But you need to make things simpler for you to handle. So you do the inside of the group first, then expand to outside. Okay? So you need to do the inside parentheses first before you do bracket, so you don't get confused. You can cover them up, okay, to do that. So between 9 minus 2 times 3, which one you should do first? Multiplication, right? So 2 times 3 is what? 6. Then you have 9 minus 6. Is that right? So 9 minus 6 is what? 3. Then you better rewrite it instead of overcloud your thinking. So you see, simplify it first, right? So you end up this way. Is that right? Because you simplify the inside first, the group. Okay? Then you have this group at the end, right? This is a group you need to do. Within this group, you have what? Parentheses here means what? Multiplication and adding to 7. So, which one you should do first? You should add them first. I mean, multiply them first, right? Then you add. So, 2 times 3 is what? 6. You do that first. Then you do what? 6 times 6 and 7. You add them together, which is what? 13. So you rewrite it 4 and 13, right? So bracket is a multiplication as well. Same thing as your parenthesis. It's a group. Two numbers together with a group symbol in between. It means what? Multiplication. Okay? So we are learning the symbols. What do symbols mean? How you apply to your math for the basic skills as subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay? So we reviewed the things you learned pandas in your high school. But remember, pandas is not good enough. You need to remember for multiplication, division, the group, and subtraction and addition, different type of group, you do it for the same category. You need to do it from left to right. We couldn't emphasize enough, okay? Until you get used to it, it becomes natural. Otherwise, you need to do a lot of practice. Right? Are we good? So this would be your section 2.1.